शुक्रिया अदिति, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आप सब लोगों का कि आप यहाँ पे आज मौजूद हैं। मेरे ख्याल से एक तरीके से ऑडिटोरियम का मिशन का कैंसिलेशन अच्छा ही हुआ, क्योंकि हम खुली फिजा में इतनी अच्छी खूबसूरत आबो हवा में हम लोग मिल रहे हैं, बात कर रहे हैं, पेड़ों के इर्द गिर्द हवा चल रही है, इससे मज़ेदार और क्या हो सकता है। सिर्फ एक बात की कमी थी, दो बातों की कमी थी। एक तो यहाँ पे डॉक्टर उमर खालिद को मौजूद होना चाहिए। हमने देखा पिछले 2-3 दिन पहले आपके ही स्टूडेंट, आपके ही यूनिवर्सिटी के स्टूडेंट नेहा बोरा, जो कि स्कूल ऑफ आर्ट्स एंड एस्थेटिक्स की है, उन पर झारखंड से स्याही से अटैक किया गया। उन लोगों के द्वारा जिनका स्याही से कोई काम नहीं है, न वो लिखते हैं न वो पढ़ते हैं, वो सिर्फ स्याही फेंक सकते हैं। और उसके कॉन्ट्रास्ट में आपके सामने एक जीती जागती पीएचडी डिसर्टेशन जो किताब बन चुकी है। ठीक है, सो आई एम नाउ गोइंग टू कम टू द टॉपिक ऑफ द बुक and its contents. We are talking about Umar Khalid's book, Fractured Communities. It's a fascinating span of more than 100 years that explores the relationship between autonomy and governance. We're going to return to a question of a conversation about history, which is what should be happening in universities. This book spans more than 100 years, and it talks about a relationship between autonomy and governance, and between the formation of communities, which Dr. Prabhu Mohapatra has spoken about very eloquently. I also want to mention that it is also a collection of fascinating individual stories, like the ones that, for instance, there is a man called Captain David Munky. There are other similar individuals. There should have been an indigenous representative on this planet. I agree. There should have been also. We also will talk about individual voices such as the anthropologist S.C. Roy and D.N. Majumdar. We also will talk about the British officers Wilkinson, after whom the Wilkinson rules have been framed, Dalton, Ticky, Hayes, and also diverse voices that Dr. Umar Khalid is able to read through official reports in the Bihar State Archives, in Chaibasa Archives, and in the National Archives. There is a reason why he is able to read these reports. On page 189 of the book that Banojyotsna and I and Anirban have edited, there is a beautiful obituary written by Umar Khalid of one of the most preeminent historians of India in the last century, Dr. Ranojit Guha. And he is someone Umar Khalid has a continuing argument with in this book and a debt towards this book. Unlike these few gentlemen and ladies here, that argument teaches us how to have disagreements, intellectual disagreements, right? But in his obituary, written from the prison cell in Tihar, Umar Khalid writes this heartfelt expression of memory and remembrance towards Ranojit Guha, whom he has never met, whom he has only met through his writing. And he talks about a couple of things. He talks about how to read subaltern agency through what Ranojit Guha called the prose of counterinsurgencies. That is a way of reading official archives to try and excavate the voices of dissent and difference that have persisted throughout history. He also talks about the fact that Ranojit Guha, unlike Marxist orthodoxy, is extremely sensitive to the question of religion in the understanding of history. If these men and women who are making a noise had the capacity and the intellectual ability to read the book they would note that Umar Khalid talks about a relationship between an expression of subaltern Hindu spirituality in the revival of what is called the Hari Baba cult in Singhbhum and its relationship to dissent. This is a man who, completely unconstrained by his identity as an urban Muslim, is able to think through the question of how indigenous communities negotiate a path with established religions, including popular Hinduism. These men here do not have the capacity to understand and respect even their own traditions. Right. Having said that, I want to talk a little bit about some of the political implications that can be drawn from this excellent work of scholarship. One of them is the fact that there is a continuous attrition, a war of attrition about resources between people who pick up the commons of the forest and the companies that come to expropriate the land. In Jharkhand, for instance, Umar Khalid talks about the evolution of two legal principles, the Chota Nagpur Tenancy Act and the Santhal Parganas Tenancy Act. If you look at recent disputes over land acquisition in Jharkhand, you will realize that the Adani Corporation tries to bend the rules of the Santhal Parganas Tenancy Act in order to be able to extract resources from the virgin lands of Jharkhand. This includes a network that rises from the coal mines of Australia in Queensland, which the Adani Corporation has acquired by deceit. Those coal mine resources are brought to India. They are put in a coal refinery in Jharkhand, and the electricity extracted from that process is exported to Bangladesh. Look at this relationship. Australia, Jharkhand, Bangladesh. Illegal mining, processing of coal under circumstances permitted by the violation of legal instruments, and the export of energy. There's a similar process that is happening when the forests are being denuded in Jharkhand 150 years ago. That has to do with the creation of the railway network, the Bengal-Nagpur Railway, and the cultivation of teak and the extraction of wood from the teak forests. Umar Khalid is very attentive to this, and he reminds us of thinking about the beginnings of an understanding that is a Marxist understanding of material resources, which comes from Karl Marx's young articles on wood theft in Germany. It's precisely that same relationship. Who owns what is fallen on the ground? Who has access to the fruit and the resources and the firewood? And who owns the forest? So, similarly, that same relationship, that same relationship is produced again and again in a way that implicates all kinds of communities, including from within the indigenous communities, which has a second political implication. And that second political implication for all of us who are engaged in a struggle for an open and secular and democratic future is not to consider people in blocks. There is no such thing as the homogeneous Adivasi. There is no such thing as the homogeneous Muslim. Muslims are divided by caste, by who is Pasmanda. Christians are divided by who is Dalit. And of course, by who proceeds to have accommodations from a fascist state. So, what Umar indirectly points to is the possibility of recognizing that a form of politics that does not put people in identitarian boxes. It is the same plea that Rohit Vemula made when he said, "Do not reduce me to my identity." Yes. We are talking about an expansion of human capacity. And the implication of this book is that we need to think in a more sophisticated way about the relationship between identities, caste and class formation, and the way in which the state wants to swallow all sorts of expressions. Please read the book. Please read both these books, Umar Khalid and His World and Fractured Communities, because your reading, your study is a part of your struggle against those who want to destroy education in this country. When they throw ink at Neha Bora, we wear that ink with pride, because it is with that ink that we will write the history of the present and the future. Thank you.